Zodiac signs with the strongest aura. Why does the space around some people become quiet, while others remain unnoticed even when they speak loudly? There are zodiac signs whose energy can be felt even before they speak. A strong aura, influence, pressure that cannot be ignored. Today we will analyze which signs carry the most powerful field and how to recognize it from the first seconds of contact. You will see the main markers of this power and understand why some attract attention while others only try. If it is important for you to understand the hidden mechanisms of energy and character, subscribe to the channel. Here they analyze things that most people don't even notice. Now let's start with the first sign, whose aura changes the atmosphere in any room. Capricorn. His presence is felt before he is seen. The air changes. The conversation dies down. People subconsciously straighten their backs. Capricorn does not make noise. He does not need to. His aura works differently, quietly, precisely, without demonstration. It resembles cold steel. This power is formed over years. Discipline, self-control, rejection of weakness. Every decision is a brick in the internal structure, and over time this structure begins to radiate pressure. People feel it even in silence. Capricorn does not try to be liked. His aura is not soft, not friendly. It is stable, heavy, like rock. It becomes more difficult to lie around him, more difficult to pretend, more difficult to be frivolous. His field forces people to pull themselves together. Capricorn does not rush in conversations. He listens, he observes, he analyzes. His aura works together with his gaze, slow, firm, and that is enough. The person opposite him begins to speak more precisely, fewer gestures, fewer unnecessary words. Capricorn does not impose authority, he simply stands there, and authority arises on its own. His energy is reminiscent of old fortresses, stone, cold, endurance of centuries. There is no chaos in this aura. There is structure, there is order. There is an internal code that does not change due to mood or circumstances. That is why people feel support in him, even when they cannot explain why. Capricorn almost never wastes energy. His aura is economical. It is not scattered on random emotions. It accumulates. And when action is needed, the pressure becomes palpable. In the workplace, this is immediately apparent. Where Capricorn appears, the system begins to work. Someone falls silent. Someone speeds up. Some people start correcting mistakes. No one gives orders, but order emerges. This is the effect of a strong aura. Capricorns don't talk about power. They demonstrate it through restraint, through cold logic, through the ability to stay the course when others are already looking for excuses. Their field stabilizes the space. Panic subsides. Illusions disappear. Reality remains. Such an aura is formed only in those who are accustomed to rising slowly, step by step, without applause, without quick victories. That is why it is so dense. And when Capricorn enters the room, no one asks who is in charge. It is already clear. Sagittarius. There are people around whom space begins to move faster. Conversations change direction. Decisions are made more boldly. This is how the aura of those born under the sign of Sagittarius works. It does not oppress, it pushes forward. Sagittarius enters the room without fanta, no drama, just a normal gait. Calm gaze, but after a few minutes the people around them start to act more actively. Someone suddenly remembers an old idea, someone starts a new project, someone dares to say what they've been thinking for a long time. I noticed one thing a long time ago. People around Sagittarius are less likely to remain stagnant. Their aura acts as an impulse. It does not create comfort, it creates movement. Sagittarius does not like narrow corridors, neither literal nor figurative. If a representative of this sign appears in a team, conversations quickly turn into plans. Planning turns into action. Sometimes it looks abrupt. A Sagittarius may suddenly suggest changing the route of a trip, rewriting the concept of a project, throwing out half of the ideas and leaving one. Surprisingly, it is this one that works. I have no doubt this sign has a natural sense of direction. Its aura does not tolerate stagnation. This is noticeable even in small things. If Sagittarius is sitting at the negotiating table, the conversation rarely lasts for hours. They ask a question that abruptly changes the focus. Why do it this way? And then there is silence. It is in this spot that people realize that many decisions were made simply out of inertia. In my opinion, this is natural. The Sagittarius aura always seeks a broader horizon. It does not allow you to get bogged down in details. Therefore, representatives of this sign are often attracted to travel, new markets, and new acquaintances, not because of a dream, because of an inner need to move. Their energy is like an arrow in flight. It does not stop in the middle of the road. And what is interesting is that people feel it. That is why Sagittarians are often trusted to lead, not always officially, but in fact, that is what happens. The team looks to them, waits for reaction. Sagittarians rarely give long speeches. Their decisions are short. Let's do this way, and the movement begins. It is obvious to me that such an aura appears only in those who are not afraid of scale. Sagittarians think more broadly. They act faster, and that is why their energy can be felt even when they are silent. Virgo. There are people who leave almost no trace of noise, no loud gestures, no sharp statements, but after their actions, everything starts to work more accurately. This is how the aura of representatives born under the sign of Virgo manifests itself. It does not oppress, it corrects. Virgo can remain silent for a long time at a meeting, sit a little apart, review documents, while others argue. She quietly turns the pages of the contract. Then she looks up and says one sentence. There is a mistake in the amount in the third paragraph. Silence. The numbers are checked again. And there really is a mistake. I noticed a pattern a long time ago. Virgos almost never speak without reason. Their aura is built on precision. It is not intuitive mysticism or charismatic pressure. It is concentration of attention brought to perfection. Representatives of this sign notice what others miss. An extra comma in a document, a strange pause in a partner's conversation, uncertainty in the voice of a person who has just agreed to a deal. I am convinced that this ability forms a very strong energy field. People start to be more careful around Virgos. They formulate their thoughts more carefully. They check the facts. No one admits it directly, but the effect is obvious. The Virgo's aura does not tolerate chaos. When she appears in a team, the atmosphere gradually changes. Tables become more accurate. Reports become shorter. Decisions become more reasoned. I see this at the key. Virgos do not seek to rule. They seek order, and it is order that makes their influence so strong. This is also evident in everyday life. When a representative of this sign enters a new space, sooner or later a small detail changes, and then another, then a third. A lamp is moved, the file structure is changed, unnecessary papers disappear from the desk. These seem like minor details, but the space begins to function more efficiently. In my opinion, this is a natural result of their thinking. Virgos always look for the weak points in a system, and they find them. That is why their aura is often underestimated at first. It is not demonstrative, it is not loud, it is not theatrical, but after a while something else becomes clear. Without this person, many things simply fall apart. It is obvious to me that this sign embodies a rare type of power, the power of precision, the power of observation, the power of calm, cool control, and when Virgo silently observes the situation, many people suddenly begin to rethink their words. Pisces, sometimes it takes just a few minutes to feel that this person perceived the world differently, without demonstrations, without explanations, but the space around them becomes quieter. This is how the aura of those born under the sign of Pisces works. It does not oppress, it absorbs. Pisces rarely try to look influential. Their strength manifests itself in other ways. They listen longer than others, sometimes so attentively that the interlocutor begins to say more than they planned. One scene illustrates this well. A conversation at the table, a person nervously explains why they delayed the project. Many words, many excuses. Pisces watch silently. They don't interrupt. And suddenly the interlocutor stops himself. He changes his tone. He begins to speak more honestly. I have no doubt. Their aura makes people drop their masks. It's a strange effect. Pisces don't ask direct questions, but when they are around, people begin to admit what they have been hiding. I have seen this many times. During negotiations, where everyone was holding their ground, a representative of this sign would suddenly ask one quiet question, not aggressive, simple. What is really stopping you? And the conversation would change. I am convinced that Pisces have a rare ability to sense the weak point in a situation, not with logic, with feeling. Their aura is like water. It does not break barriers directly. It finds cracks and passes through them. That is why representatives of this sign often see what others do not notice. For example, a phrase said in passing, uncertainty in a joke, an unnatural pause in a dialogue. I see this as the key. Pisces work with subtext, and this feature forms a strong energy field. People begin to be more sincere, sometimes even against their will. One more detail. If Pisces are present in a difficult conversation, the conflict rarely escalates into a harsh form. The tension seems to dissolve. Words become calmer. This is not manipulation. It is the influence of the atmosphere. In my opinion, this aura arises from deep empathy. Representatives of this sign feel the emotional background faster than others. They don't always talk about it, but their reaction betrays their understanding. A short pause, a barely noticeable change in their gaze, and the right phrase. I noticed long ago that Pisces often become people around whom others begin to speak the truth, without pressure, without demands, simply because there is no longer any point in hiding.